I would say the lowest moment I've ever had on campus, I was in Perkins, spring semester of junior year. My mom had just decided earlier that week that she wanted to stop treatment, and she had called me and said that she previously thought that maybe she would die getting hit by a car or walking in front of a bus, but she had realized that all of those small probabilities aside, the cancer she had was going to kill her. I remember I was sitting in the link doing physics homework with one of my friends, and I just got up and started walking up the stairs, crying. There's always a lot of people in the link on a Sunday night, but I didn't notice anyone. It was really just me against absolutely everything in the world. I sat with my back against one of those columns by the entrance between Perkins and Bostock and just cried for a really long time. And surprisingly, a lot of people walk by you and say absolutely nothing. And then other people feel obligated to say something and kind of come up and just stare at you awkwardly. And that's also a very isolating experience. And then some people you would expect to offer words of comfort or support don't do so. That experience was pretty challenging and also defining. It makes it hard to go back to the link. My first happy moment in my happy place, which is the gardens, was the summer after freshman year at the end of summer term. It was dusk, so the sun had set, but it was still kind of light outside, and my friend and I had decided we were going to walk back to Central through the gardens. We were walking down the path around the corner by Allen, entering into the gardens, and I was fully immersed in our conversation. And I was really tired, thinking about how there was all this stuff I needed to get done, and I was worried about my grades because I'd just taken the last test. I felt like my vision was going weird, like, you know how you get stars in your eyes? So I rubbed my eyes, and it was still kind of blurry. And then I rubbed my eyes again, and I'm like, holy shit, those are fireflies! It was the first time I'd ever seen fireflies. I think we spent like 20 minutes just running through the gardens trying to catch fireflies. My lowest place is the walk from Edens to Towerview. I was walking up the uphill thing, probably going to the gym, beginning of junior year, and it was a beautiful day outside. Clear blue sky, and I think it was around like October. So the leaves were starting to turn yellow and orange, and it kind of hit me that that's my favorite time of the year, but I hadn't noticed it until that point. I'd been so stuck in my head that I hadn't seen the world happening around me. It was freshman year after the psychiatrist told me I should go on depression medication. So it was a pretty destructive day, because 1, I didn't want to accept I needed to have medication. 2, I felt like a foreigner. And especially that day, I felt like I was in a completely different, isolated wavelength than other people. So I cut myself pretty badly. I also went on a 16 mile run on a totally empty stomach, and then after that, I binged on 2 pints of Ben & Jerry's. It was like 2 in the morning, and I was doing artwork, but my anxiety kept rising, and I don't know, I just wanted to harm myself. But instead, I grabbed my bike and I went to the chapel. I was there until 5 or 6 in the morning, and I just kind of reevaluated everything. I think sometimes your darkest moments are also, I don't know, they give you an access to your heart that you wouldn't have gotten if you stayed at baseline. So while it was scary how I was feeling that night and what I was willing to do to myself, I also feel like I had to reach that low and then go to the chapel and zoom out of all of it, expand my mind, and remember all the good experiences I've had. The chapel has been my safe haven, a constant reminder of that promise I made to myself to just get out there and express myself. My happy place is the Divinity Cafe. I've spent a lot of time at the Divinity Cafe ever since I discovered it sophomore year. I've eaten lunch there basically every day since. Most people can't really understand how I could love it that much. They're like, you don't get bored? No, never. It's the best place ever. I think I was originally drawn to the Div School because there's people there that aren't just Duke students. You know, random people, divinity school students. There's always a flunch or two happening there, which is really cool. I love the people that work there. At this point, they know my order perfectly. They're like, vegetable lentil curry with extra rice on top? And I don't have to say anything. They're just so friendly and always ask me how my day is going, and we chat about their lives and my life. It's just a great place to be. When I first read the news in my 8:30 class sophomore spring, I didn't quite believe it. It wasn't until I walked into the chapel and sat in the memorial chapel in the stone silence that it really started sinking in. The fact that 3 Muslim students at UNC Chapel Hill had just been shot that morning. And as I sat there, it just hit me in the silence. I started crying. Like, how can so much hatred exist against our fellow Muslim brothers and sisters? It didn't lose its irony that I was able to sit in this giant stone building that's a monument to my faith and sit there in safety and have my own moment of lament when all of the Muslim students on Duke's campus and UNC Chapel Hill were actually terrified for their own safety. It was kind of a hopeless moment. Like, what do you do with that? I guess I'll actually start with my negative because that's a very vivid memory. It was September of my sophomore year when I was sexually assaulted. I was at a party that started at an off-campus fraternity house, and over the course of the night, I got very, very drunk. Somehow, I ended up in an Uber with this guy that I trusted and was friends with, and I definitely blacked out. I don't remember getting to his apartment. I just remember coming to and being in his apartment on his bed. He was trying to make out with me and trying to take my clothes off, and I said very clearly, "Can you stop? Everything's spinning." And he stopped, but only for a moment. I remember lying there, too drunk to walk, too drunk to get up, and so I stared at the ceiling of this central campus apartment. I still remember, it's that awful popcorn texture, and the lighting was really yellow. I was on his bed, and there's a big window balcony to the left, and the blinds were closed. His door was to the right, and I had this awful thought while it was happening, which was, I don't even know who his roommate is. I wonder if he's home. I blacked in and out for the rest of that experience. One of my next most vivid memories is coming down these metal stairs to the base of his apartment building, clinging to this guy who had just sexually assaulted me because I couldn't walk, I was so drunk. All I knew was that I really wanted to go home. When I think about the most dizzying, utter and complete happy moment I've had during my Duke experience, I think about my study abroad program. I went to Switzerland with a group of about 30 people, and none of us really knew each other or what we were getting into, but very quickly we got very close. And then, of course, we had to finish the program and come back to real life. And there's always a little bit of apprehension, like, are things going to be the same with these people when you're not in the same place? So we got dinner at the Waduke about a week after we got back to campus that fall. The Waduke is this opulent, beautiful southern inn. You walk in and there are these big, very pretentious lion statues flanking the front door. And you walk into this beautiful lobby with very rich carpeting. And to the left, there's a beautiful dining room. So we all sat down reminiscing about all of the memories we'd made in Europe. And I had one of those moments where I was thinking, I'm so in love with all of you. I'm so in love with this school and with the people Duke has allowed me to meet.